Nothing important happening is very different from your wife saying nothing happened. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Without asking me, my wife went on a date, I locked the house, and now there is no marriage. I don't know where to begin. First, I'm very upset. Second, I don't know if writing this will even help. Here's the situation. Yesterday, Merlin, it makes me sick to call her my wife, told me she was going on a date. I'm a 33-year-old man, and I've been married to Merlin, a 34-year-old woman, for 6 years. We agreed not to have kids and live a happy life together. But a few months ago, she started complaining about how boring life is and said things would be better if we had kids. I told her we could talk about it if she really wanted to. We still have time, I think. Then, she suddenly changed her mind and said it was just a midlife crisis. I thought it was just a mood swing and let it go. But yesterday, she shocked me by saying she was going on a date with her coworker. A date? I thought she was joking and laughed, saying, "You got me." She stared at me with wide eyes and said, "No, I'm dang serious." I just couldn't believe she was saying this. I mean, you don't expect your wife to come and tell you she's going to fuck around with another man. Dear Lord. For the good 10 minutes, I thought that this was just some sort of prank. I asked her why all of a sudden she was heading for a date. She said that just to kill the monotonous rhythm, she wants to do something exciting. And what was that? Going on a date with her colleague. She shrugs it off and saying it's no big deal and it was just a dinner. I was just not able to wrap my head around this information. She sat me down and said, "Remember, I used to tell you that life has become so monotonous and we need to do something fun, but we couldn't figure out a way." I cut her off in between and said, "We did figure out a way. We made an altogether new schedule to have a weekly date night and go for a mini vacation every 3 months. We did give several of your other suggestions a try." She yelled at me. It was all dull and uninteresting. Allow me to conclude now. I was talking to my co-worker Randy at work about this, and I think you know him. Joined in and shared that he was experiencing the same misery. Later, he contacted me privately. We talked about it in detail. He said he's been trying different things with his wife, but nothing is working, just like with us. So we decided to go on a casual date to see if it would bring some excitement. That's why we planned the dinner. I asked her if she could hear what she was saying. She replied, "What's wrong with 2 people having dinner?" I asked if it was really just going to be 2 people having dinner and nothing more. She said yes. So I asked, "Then why are you calling it a date?" "You could simply say you were going for dinner with your colleague," she sighed. "God, I wanted to be transparent with you. Who knew you would react in this way?" "Well, we called it a day because, our conversation may go below the belt." "What the hell was that?" She stood up and said she was getting late. She needs to get ready, and probably it was a wrong idea to discuss it with me. I was like, "Are you still going for it?" Leaving this conversation midway, she turned back and replied in a way to mock my words. "Yes, I'm going for the date," leaving the conversation midway. She does this often to annoy me, except that it wasn't funny this time. I sat there in disbelief. 5 minutes later, she peeps out of the room and says, "It's just dinner. Don't make a big deal out of it. Pretend this conversation never happened." I curled up on the couch, not knowing what to do or how to react. She came out of the room looking ravishing in her red dress and said, "Look at your face, red like my dress. Hold on to your desires and we'll have fun tonight." She tried to act sweet with loads of "I love you." I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down, telling myself it was no big deal, and she was just going to have dinner, nothing more. No big deal, right? But I still felt uneasy, like something was wrong. I couldn't relax no matter how hard I tried. So, I called my friend and we went out for a beer. I really wanted to tell him how anxious I was, but I thought it was too soon. Instead, I told him about the situation as if it was happening to someone else. I'm not sure if I explained it well or if he realized it was about me. He said it was nothing to worry about, like it was just a simple dinner in a public place. I was still sitting at the bar when I got a call from Merlin asking me to come home. I was surprised because it was still 9 and she was home. She was barely away for a couple of hours. I feel ashamed to admit this, but I felt a sense of relief and happiness that she was back home, and I was guessing nothing happened between them. Yeah, simp man, blah, blah, read the full thing. So I went home and she ran and hugged me. At this point, I was on a different tangent. I was thinking maybe she made up a story just to mess with my mind. Or maybe just test me. "You know how women are?" I asked what's up. She sat me down and told me that it was so much fun and exciting. She feels so much alive after this date that they are planning for a weekend getaway. What the fuck? I freaked out. I snapped at her and stood up. She held my hands and asked me to calm down. She said, "This is just for fun, to make myself lively again. Don't you want your old Merlin, who is always beaming with fresh energy? See, I'm already halfway just spending 2 hours on a date with him. You know I love you, and this will just make us happier." I said, "Let me get this straight, you want to sleep with this man over the weekend. And you think it will make our relationship better?" She replied, "Yeah, pretty much." I almost cornered her and asked, "You've already slept with him, haven't you?" I was so close to losing control. Only God knows how I stopped myself. She pushed me away and promised that nothing had happened yet, but she really wanted to go on the weekend trip. She said, "I love you, and this won't mean anything, but I really want to explore this fantasy of mine. I love you. Just by talking about this, I'm getting wet down there. Do you want to feel it?" I yelled out, "Why did you quench it today if you're so desperately wanting to be a whore?" She screamed back, saying they saved the excitement for the trip. She was headstrong that she wanted to go for it and see how it actually felt. I was pretty much drunk, and before I made a foolish mistake, I drove off. I called my friend to ask if I could sleep on his couch. I came back home in the morning to get ready for work, and she was sleeping blissfully. When I was getting ready, she came and hugged me from behind saying, "I love you." I shrugged her off. She said, "I know you are mad at me now, but I'm also sure that you love me enough to let me do what makes me happy." I didn't say a word and left for work. I'm feeling miserable. I cannot focus on anything. Today's Thursday and Saturday she wants to go screwing with that dude. I can't stop feeling miserable about it. I know my marriage is certainly over. Now I'm not even thinking about saving it anymore. All I want is to make that slut pay for opening her legs for another man. Well, you know darn well that more has happened, and it was never about just going for dinner. It's time to act and leave nothing behind. Update 1. I left her out in the cold night. I guess she needed some cold air after everything she did. After feeling upset on Thursday, I sat down and made a plan. Like I said, I couldn't let her walk all over me. On my way home, I bought a new lock for the house and hired a locksmith to come on Saturday to change it. I also ordered a new nameplate for the house with just my name on it. When I got home, she was wearing see-through lingerie. I was surprised. Like, "What's going on?" She looked at me and said, "Isn't this sultry to make anyone beg for me? I want to look my best on Saturday," giggled and continued. I skipped work and went shopping. Not that I wanted to save my relationship, but I wanted to record her words so that she doesn't back out later. My phone was in my pocket with the recorder on. I looked at her and said, "So you still want to do this despite knowing it would lead to a consequence?" She touches my lips and said, "What consequences?" There would be no consequences. I love you and I know you love me. This is just for fun, like you going fishing to clear your head. Take it in a similar way. I asked her, "So you're saying you are sure about having sex with your colleague despite knowing the fact that I don't approve of this out-of-marriage sex?" She said yes. "And why are you making such a big deal out of it? It's just sex. I'm not marrying him or something. I don't love him. I love you." She touched my cheeks with her lips, whispering, "I love you, but I really want to do this. It's just one life. I want to experience everything," she said. I felt disgusted by her touch, but I let her do it because I was recording her. The closer, the better. I cleaned up and went out with my friend. This time, I told him everything. Last time, I tried to protect Merlin's reputation, but now I don't care. If she wants to show herself to the world, so be it. My friend said I could sleep on his couch that night. He understood the situation quickly, but was shocked to hear what Merlin was up to. I didn't reveal anything about my plan. I wanted to keep it discreet until I executed it. But I told him I would end the marriage. He said he knew a lawyer who helped his uncle save a bomb of alimony going to his narcissistic wife. I requested him to give the details to the lawyer. Funny, he already had it for me. That's how friendship works, you know. I went home that night. She was in bed. I pulled out my pillow and blanket. She asked me where I was going. I said, "Why do you care?" She stared at me and said, "You remember our vows, right? That we would never sleep apart?" I threw the pillows back on the bed and yelled, "Wow, let's see who's talking about the vows. We also took a vow never to bed anyone else, remember?" She sighed that I was unreasonable, tossed to the other side, and slept. I took my stuff and went to the couch. I certainly cannot share a bed with someone who sleeps with me and fantasizes about other men. She spent the whole of Friday evening grooming herself and packing her bag for her big day. Meanwhile, I met the divorce lawyer on Friday afternoon and discussed my terms. He listened to the recordings and asked me to get proof of their stay if I could. However, the recording is enough. On Saturday morning, while she was in the shower, I went through her bag, swapped her tube of lube with a similar tube filled with hot white sauce, and put it back. I knew she wouldn't be able to have sex without lube since she's very cautious about it being painful. I would have loved to see her reaction when she used it. The best part is that they're going to a resort in the middle of a forest, so she won't be able to buy more lube. I also checked her phone and messages for details about where they were staying, but I didn't find anything specific. However, I did find a lot of texts about their plans from the past few days. They hadn't done it previously, according to the discussions. Not important, my union has ended. I snapped images of their talks on my phone instead of taking screenshots because I was pressed for time. Before anyone asks how I access her phone, let me tell you guys we both know each other's phone password. I hadn't spied on her phone before because I didn't feel the need for it. When she came out of the shower, I asked her which place. She blushed and said, "Now you care, huh?" I said, "If your lover chokes you to death with his big tool, I should know the place to pick up your dead body." She laughed and told me the name of the resort. I messaged it to my lawyer, who assured me he would get a copy of their stay. Apparently, hotels reveal this information to lawyers. I don't know how, so don't ask me. After a while, I heard a car honking in our driveway. She was still not ready. She was heading to the window to maybe call him inside. I yelled, "Don't you dare call him inside my house. You both would lie here with broken limbs." She laughed and told him from the window to stay in his car, and she would come. I increased the volume of the TV to the maximum. She was talking, but I didn't pay attention. After she left, I called a locksmith to change the locks. I removed her name from the entrance. Then I packed all her stuff into garbage bags and put them in the backyard. Seeing the empty closet made me realize the situation, and I cried like a baby for hours. By the time I stopped, it was already evening. I had two choices: feel sorry for myself and suffer for mistakes I didn't make, or take control of my life and move on. I chose to move on. I took a shower and went out with my friend. He has been helping me keep sane. Today is Sunday. I hit the gym early morning to get rid of the negative thoughts and sat down to write this update. She's supposed to return tonight. I can't wait to update you guys about her reaction to the locked house. Merlin got to experience the fun she had been wanting. On Sunday, she came before time. Looked like she left the resort in the afternoon without a shower. I saw her entering the driveway. She looked angry and not all that happy. Like she was beaming with energy when she left, and now she was returning frustrated. She looked miserable with smudged makeup. Her screw partner dropped her, but she didn't say goodbye to him. Too bad for her. She tried to open the door, but realized it was locked. She pulled out her key and tried to unlock it. That's where it got interesting. I was watching her through the camera installed above her entrance. She was groggy and pulled out other keys to unlock it. She threw her bag and wallet on the floor, cursing out loud. Then she started banging on the door, pressing the doorbell, and shouting, "Are you home? Why won't this stupid door open?" I texted her to check the nameplate in the backyard and then blocked her. This was enough for her to figure out that the locks had been changed and she wasn't welcome anymore. She began screaming my name, asking me to come out, and hitting the door hard. I shouted from the window that if she didn't leave, I would send the recordings to her parents and friends. She was shocked that I had recorded her and started crying. "Why are you doing this to me? I am freezing in this cold. It's too cold out here. My body is already numb in the 4-hour drive. Please open the door." I didn't open it and let her plead. She continued, "I'm already feeling miserable and guilty about my decision. That jerk forced himself upon me despite me telling him that I don't do it without lubes." I was frozen to death on hearing this. I opened the door and let her in. She tried to hug me, but I blocked her. She sat on the couch and broke down. I remained silent for a minute. Then I asked her why she didn't call for help. My throat dried up as I asked her, "Did he rape you?" She shopped and said not rape. But he manipulated me into doing it and said it won't hurt. But it was hurting, and I told him to stop. But he didn't. I asked if it happened only once. She said no, 3 to 4 times. Every time he convinced you to try again, you agreed. She said yes. I lost my temper and yelled at her, calling her a manipulative witch. I said, "Who do you think I am? A fool to believe you. Are you a 16-year-old easily manipulated? You're at a resort, not stuck at his house. You could have pushed him away and left, but instead, you spent the night with him. Tried God knows how many times with the hope that he would give you the thrill you were dreaming of." She started bawling and said, "The resort was in the middle of a forest. How could I escape him?" Sure it was, but it wasn't deserted. There were resort staff and other guests too who could have come to your rescue. Also, why didn't you call me if you felt so threatened? She kept crying because she had no answer. I asked her to leave and that she would be served within a week. She pleaded, "Please don't do this to me. I'm already guilty of my decision and I am paying the price for it. You already took your revenge by changing the lube. What else do you want? I promise I'll be a good wife and never nag about anything." I remained unmoved and said the ship had already sailed. "Our marriage was over on Wednesday when you went on a date without my consent," she said. "I assure you nothing much happened between us. He barely got inside. I hardly let him in. You know I cannot do without lube." I laughed and said, "Good for you, but we are done here. I told you there would be consequences, remember?" She started crying again. She said she thought our marriage was strong enough and that she loved me and knew I loved her. She begged me not to do this. I told her that I used to love her dearly, but now I hate her. I said she should leave if she didn't want me to send all the recordings to her parents. She was surprised that I had recorded even these conversations. I told her I wasn't going to talk to her without recording. She then said she was planning to press assault charges against Randy and needed my help. I laughed and said, "Too bad. You have to deal with it alone, and not just a court case, but also our divorce case." She pleaded with me not to leave me in this stressful time. I opened the door for her and said, "I never wanted to deal with anything alone, but you wanted a thrill, right? What better than 2 court cases simultaneously to deal with?" After a lot of friction, she finally left. The divorce papers had been sent to her office because I didn't know where she currently is living. However, my lawyer got a call from the courier company that the recipient has resigned from that office, so I had to direct the papers to her parents. I decided to drop by and tell them in person about the fallout before the papers reached them. They have been loving in-laws to me, so I guess I owed them this much. They asked me why I had visited alone and where was Merlin. I told them we were divorcing and I didn't know where she was. They were scared of my answer. I gave them the surface-level explanation that she went out with her colleague despite my disapproval, and now I cannot take her back. Her mom immediately called her, asking her to come home. She responded she was out of town visiting her best friend Kathy and would be back next weekend. Merlin usually visits her whenever she's in crap. They are childhood friends. Ex-mother-in-law called Kathy, and she confirmed that Merlin was with her, though she's in a miserable state, but she assured to take care of her. Honestly, I felt relieved to know that she was safe. Eventually, when my anger cooled down and I found out she had just quit her job, I started to feel uneasy and worried about her well-being. Merlin has faced serious consequences for her actions, but that doesn't mean I'm taking her back, absolutely not. I can't go into details about my divorce terms because they're still being worked out. Second story, I'm curious if anyone can offer some insight into why my ex-29F, who cheated on me 28F multiple times leading to our breakup, would call me randomly a week after we split. She thanked me for not ruining her reputation by talking about her cheating, but then she also said she never wants to be with me again and that we're definitely over. It felt like she was trying to make me look like the one still desperate for her, which is definitely not the case. For context, she really hurt me after 3.5 years together. We were on and off for months after becoming long distance 8 months ago. Towards the end, she broke up with me every few weeks for random reasons, including accusing me of cheating. I finally blocked her for 3 weeks. When we started talking again, she said she wanted to keep the door open for us to work things out in the future, but only as friends because she needed to work on herself. I declined because I knew what that meant. Later, I found out she had been cheating on me with someone else, who she's now dating. When I confronted her, she denied cheating and tried to blame me for the problems. I'm wondering why she would call me at 11:30 p.m. to break up with me again, when I've clearly said I want nothing to do with her and am heartbroken. Is she trying to manipulate me, hurt me more, or make me feel inferior? Or is she using some kind of reverse psychology to get me back into a toxic situation? Or does she just want to know if I'm still hung up on her? I'm definitely done and not interested in any of this, but I'm trying to understand why someone would act this way after repeatedly cheating and leaving me for someone else. There has to be something seriously off with her, right?